Hello, I want to welcome to the Butterfly Effect Christine Breese, and she is a spiritual teacher, and she is the founder of the Metaphysical Science Academy. How do you say it again?
University of Metaphysical Sciences.
Yes. So thank you so much for being here and connecting with me and our audience today and being willing to share your heart and your journey. I appreciate you so much. So thank you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much for having me. I'm also the founder of Gaia Sagrada Retreat Center.
Awesome. I know you've done a lot. You've done so much, and you've been on this journey for a long time, and you have so much to share with people. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about your journey and how you got to being a spiritual teacher and doing the work that you do now, because I think it's one that's unique, and there will be people that can relate to it. So I would love for you to share a little bit about it.
Well, it all started with trying not to be, well, first, just like everybody, my spiritual path started with wanting more in life, wanting even material things. Like everybody's joining the whole law of attraction thing because it's about getting more stuff and getting more of this or more of that, or the perfect partner or the perfect house or the perfect this or that, or more money, better job, all of that. And in a way, the spiritual path always starts with wanting something more than what you have, wanting something that isn't in your reality, even if it's more happiness. But usually people, before they know enough about the spiritual path, they equate happiness with material gain. So it starts with that, but then as you're on the path and as you continue, you learn that there's a whole lot more to this life and a whole lot more to all of this than just getting more stuff with
Yeah.
Jedi mind powers of law of attraction. So after I finally stopped trying to pursue things in the material world, I just said, all right, that's it. I'm going to go on a vision quest for 6 months and just be in the wilderness for 6 months and find myself and make peace and find my happiness. And I had a rock and roll band at the time. I was playing lead guitar in a band in the 80s. That was kind of strange and unique and unusual, but it was pretty good, but there wasn't a whole lot of money in that. But then right at the time when I started getting noticed, I got a stalker. And that got really weird. So I thought I'd just take some time off for a while. I'd go find myself, because even though all this stuff was working out on the physical plane, I was still miserable inside. I was still so unhappy. And I was like, why? Because everything's going well. I shouldn't be unhappy. And so I went into the wilderness for 6 months, and 6 months turned into 6 years. And I never did go back to pursuing the physical reality stuff. When I was there for 6 years, and I'd come out now and then and play guitar and borrow a friend's guitar and play on a street corner for a while, get a couple $100 and go back into the woods for another 6 months. I could buy enough food. Back then, food was pretty cheap, so with a couple $100, I could get 6 months worth of food and hike back into the mountains or the deserts or wherever I was staying, and just do my spiritual homework. Really just journal, dream, meditate, cry, be upset and angry, just whatever needed to happen. I had to be my own spiritual teacher, my own shaman, my own guru, because there was nobody who would help me without money back then. There was no such thing as YouTube. There was no such thing as internet. There was no free nothing. And the metaphysical bookstores back then were like 100 titles in a little closet somewhere. There just wasn't all the help that there is now. So I had to just go and sit alone in the wilderness and just meditate my way to health. And then finally, and my spiritual powers were starting to open up, the ability to see auras, the ability to see the other dimensions, the ability to telepathically communicate with the animals, the trees, the ground, the earth, the sky, the people, everything. And all of that just shut down all of a sudden. And I was like, why? And the message from Spirit was, we didn't give you all this to just hide out here in the wilderness. You got to get back in there and help the people, help civilization. This is a project. And that's not what this lifetime is for, is to just be a monk by yourself. It's easy to be Zen on top of the mountain, but go and get a job in the city and let's see how Zen you are. So that was the beginning of how it started. And then my life work began to unfold one step at a time. And I didn't know how that was going to work. I just kept following the clues one step at a time. So
Yeah. I love that. I mean, it's just a different journey for the one that you've experienced than a lot of the ones that I've heard. So I just think that it's so beautiful that you're able to share that. And one thing, there's a couple things that you've shared with me on your journey that you've had to overcome, struggles that you've had in your past, as far as like even, like I think feelings of not wanting to live. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that struggle with that. I myself actually as well struggled with that. So I would love for you to share a little bit about that, like on your journey and how that was for you and how you have overcame that with being on this path.
Yeah, unfortunately, suicidal feelings and depression are pretty epidemic in this world right now. And a lot of it is because they're such sensitive souls that it's really hard to be in such a say, unevolved and crude place where the species is pretty primitive still. And so anybody who's feeling suicidal and thinking about that, stop. We need you here. We need you here very much, Angel. And you can transcend this. People who think that they had too much, no. It's because they're really strong souls if they took on too much, and they're professionals at transmuting darkness. And so if there's a person who's wanting to commit suicide, don't, we need you here. And you can transcend it, just keep doing your spiritual homework one step at a time. I was very suicidal for, oh gosh, probably at least a decade, if not more. It started when I was probably around 12, and because I went through abuses that are just off the charts. And my parents didn't know that this was happening at school and camp and things like that, and the uncles and things like that. Or not all of them, just one. And my other uncles are really wonderful people, so I just want to make sure I clarify that.
Yeah.
But and the abuses that were happening were, the way I see it is, you sign up for a certain dysfunction in life, and to be a human, you have to sign up for a dysfunction. You can't come here, this is on vacation. This is not a vacation planet. At the gates, when they say, okay, you want to be a human, and they're like, okay, which dysfunction are you going to sign up for? You're like, I'll take depression for 25, or I'll take anger for 75, or I'll take whatever, fill in the blank, grief, loss, sadness, loneliness, and a handicap, whatever it is. And you take these on by yourself, your choice, and you can decide what order all your courses go in when you're on Earth, but pretty much you have to take them all. And even dark lifetimes of being a bad guy, you have to take them all in order to understand misuse of power. And the other side of misuse of power courses, which is advanced study for the soul, the first one starts with a misuse of power lifetime, being a bad parent, being a bad husband or wife, or being a bad ruler, or being a bad something. And then comes a long string of victim lifetimes after it. And a lot of times, by the time you get to the end of that string of lifetimes, suicide is usually the final lifetime, the challenge to not commit suicide and to enter the law of grace. And people don't understand that the law of karma, the karma is not a punishment and reward thing, it's an education. And And you have to take the hard classes too. Can't just take all the dance classes and the art classes. Dang it. But you have to take those classes too. And the and what happens is you get to a lifetime where there's a suicidal tendency, a suicidal feeling, a giving up. And that is usually the last lifetime in that cycle of courses. And so when I finally made peace with my life and stopped the suicidal feelings, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, pot saved my life, because when I was really suicidal, I mean, I don't smoke it anymore because now it would make you not, it's a trick. There's addiction spirits around it that would keep you from getting your life work done. But whenever I was suicidal, I'd be like, okay, I can smoke a doobie and I'll kill myself tomorrow. So in a way, it was a medicine that saved my life if I used it like a medicine instead of like a party drug or an addiction thing. Once it was time to do my life work, I realized the trickery of it, the trick of the addiction. So anybody who's addicted to anything, really examine if you're using it like a medicine rather than, for instance, that was a good medicine for strong emotions, like wanting to kill myself, or anger to keep me from doing something I would regret. Would basically just make me too lazy to do that. But that actually helped a lot, actually, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that it could be supportive of, you know,
Yeah.
of just like getting to a place to make it through. Hopefully at some point they'll shift into, you know, realizing that they can let go of that. I struggled with addiction too. So I definitely know what it's like to use to cope with life.
Right. It is a coping mechanism. At some point, we get to the point where we have enough spiritual evolution that we don't need things like drugs or alcohol or sex or TV or whatever, too much internet, too much social media. That we don't need those things to cope with the struggles of life. But the suicide thing finally ended when I took responsibility for what my soul chose.
Yeah.
When I took responsibility for, okay, none of this stuff happened to me. My soul chose to go through those abuses. My soul chose to be a victim of those organizations. My soul chose to witness sacrificial. It was crazy stuff, and stuff people don't survive. When you go through those things, you are programmed to either self-destruct or commit homicide by the time you reach an older age. And so once I took responsibility for doing that to myself, and a lot of times people get angry with me when I say this, because they have a vested interest in staying the victim.
Yeah.
How can an innocent child who was raped and tortured and all this, how can an innocent child be responsible for that? But what I'm suggesting is to step further back and look at the bigger picture from the perspective of eternal self that knows that it's dreaming and knows that it's choosing these challenging things because it's willing to contribute to the evolution of this species. And that's what we're doing by choosing a dysfunction and coming into this world and choosing to give our contribution to rewiring the human condition from the inside out. That's what this is about. Have you had feelings of suicide too?
Yeah, I definitely went through, I think a lot of it for me was not understanding myself, not understanding my sensitivity, being highly sensitive. You know, there was plenty of ways throughout my life I coped with that, weight being one of them, you know, struggling, getting up to 355 pounds. But then after like losing a little bit of the weight, switching addictions and, you know, trying to cope with alcohol, losing control there. And
I am so impressed that you were 365 pounds and look at you. You are such an inspiration that it can be done. I'm impressed. You're an inspiration to me because I still got like a little bit of, you know, I was 220 at one
Um,
time, and I lost everything but that last 20. I just never could get rid of that last 20. But you have.
well,
Wow.
honestly, I got down to a lower weight and then I've put a little bit of weight on because I don't have an issue with the scale. It's about how I'm feeling and being
Hmm.
aware of actually knowing, like, I actually know when I'm using food to cope with my emotions and I understand my sensitivity. And that's part of why my heart is so passionate about this journey is because it gave me awareness around, like, even like, because I'm still human. I know, like, I still get emotional and I still will like like turn to food sometimes to calm down the emotions, but I'm aware of it and it's a choice now if I choose to do it or not, but it wasn't before. I had no clue what was going on.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, there was definitely, so back to like the suicidal stuff, there was definitely tendencies that came up for me in when I was in that struggle of alcohol and felt all loss of control. But something that I do want to share is it also really gave me a deep understanding for people where they're at on their journey, no
Mhm.
matter what they're going through, what they're doing, whether it's they're like wanting to commit suicide or even harming people. Like I have an understanding for them being where they're at. I mean, I'm not like I'm not saying it's okay, but just having an understanding for those people, and it's
Yeah,
helped.
the way I see it is I'm grateful for those experiences now because I can help people that other people can't. I
Yeah,
mean, someone who's in a suicidal state and you're trying to tell them it's going to be okay, but you've never felt they're like, who, how can you talk to me?
yeah.
How can you even understand what I'm dealing with? So,
So, I mean, as we've gone through that stuff, we have a great responsibility now, but it's so gratifying being able to support people out of that struggle and be that guide for people. And like you said, I wouldn't be able to support people if I hadn't gone through it. I feel like I can support a wide range of people because of it.
right.
I'm so thankful for it. Um, but yeah, there's just a lot of people out there that don't, like, they're not on this path yet, this
Mhm.
spiritual and the awareness, the consciousness. And and like I appreciate the work that you do and what you've gone through because like it's important for us to be here supporting and guiding people. um I would
Yeah,
love.
I want to make a free course for depression. I mean, I'll make one that people have to pay for that's 6 months, but it's going to be really dirt cheap. I mean, I'm not in this for the money. To me, if humanity doesn't awaken and change, then we don't get to stay on this planet. This is a make it or break it stage for humanity. So for me, this isn't about money. This isn't an era for making. I believe that spiritual teachers and gurus and shamans and all that should have a comfortable life. I don't believe, but luxury and millions of dollars, I'm not behind that. But
Yeah,
and if they get that much, then do it for free. Like, I mean, that's why I do the free retreats, freeretreatsforall.com. That's why I do the free retreats is because it's like, look, if you get a little bit, give back. I
yeah,
mean, I have two successful spiritual businesses, and it's like, okay, what profit I do get, they're nonprofit, so all the prices are like right at cost. But so there's not a lot of profit extra, but I have to put it just a little extra in case something happens. But so the extra that we do have every year, I give free meditation and spiritual retreats because this money isn't for me, it's to flow into the world and to make the world a better place and to get this species awakened as
yeah,
much as I can before I leave. You know, do my part, you're doing your part, I'm doing my part. And if we're all touching the part of the world that we can reach, then this world is going to change overnight, really, if everybody gets on board right now and just
yeah,
does their part and influences the people in the areas that they can reach. But the point is that I want to make a depression course for the people who don't have any money, because usually the ones who are really depressed or suicidal, they're the ones who really don't have the money to pay for this stuff. And
mm,
so, I mean, I was living in a car. I was living in the wilderness with a backpack because I was so broke. I'm like, well, if I'm going to be homeless, let's be in a beautiful national park or something, you know?
yeah,
But usually those people are the ones who really don't have any money. And I really want to help those ones because without need for everybody's like, oh, equal exchange and you should make money and a lot of money at what you do and stuff. I'm like, I don't agree. I don't agree. And everybody can have their equal exchange stuff or whatever. But when I was living under a bridge, I would have really appreciated if somebody would have given me an online impression course if the internet had existed back then.
Yeah.
And to help people for maybe 6 months to just really go step by step through all their beliefs, all their programming, really give them all the tools they need to, so that there's no excuse for anybody who wants to be on a spiritual path to be on it. I really, we know who these millionaire spiritual teachers are. I'm not going to name names, but I'm trying to start a trend to shame them into give them free. Like some of these ones have like millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars more than they could spend in a lifetime. It's like, dude, dudette, it's time to just do the rest for free. Come on.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I think one of the I'm like a little like back noise, but I think one of the big messages in that, and for me has been, in giving, you receive, and one of the other things is abundance doesn't necessarily mean money.
I agree.
I appreciate the work that you do and like the willingness to give, and like it's important for some of us, and no matter what somebody else is doing, for us to stay grounded in our truth and what rings true for us, as far as like you being able to give, and that actually really does support you on your journey too. Like you just creating that course that you're going to be working on. I think that's beautiful. And if we didn't have people like you willing to give like that, it would be more challenging. And I know you went through a time that was more challenging, and that's why
nobody helped me.
Yeah, that's why your heart wants to give like that, because you wish you had that. And thank you for that.
Thank you for recognizing it. It's when I leave this place, they're not going to ask me how much money I have. They're going to ask me how much love did you spread in the world.
Yes.
When we leave this world. And, I got some cool electric guitars with names. I've got some hippie jewelry and some clothes. I don't need a lot. And I get to live at Gaia Sagrada Retreat Center, which is a beautiful heavenly place. And I got my food. I got a humble house. I got a humble car. It all works. I don't need luxury. I don't believe that spiritual teachers should live in absolute luxury. I know people are trying to teach, well, you can live by example by being in luxury. It's like, well, if you have this luxury, then, for instance, I just found out that this guy who made a spiritual movie has like $230 billion. I'm like, dude, you could change the world with $230 billion. I would buy every rainforest. I would buy every other forest. I would I would put water in all the places in Africa or other places that don't have clean water. With $230 billion, just imagine for one moment the power to change the world that you have.
Yeah.
And it's time for people like us to hold the money. If you want to know the truth, I move $1 million a year through my businesses right now, and it's still growing, but I keep minimum wage. I pay myself minimum wage because, first of all, having a nonprofit makes it so that you're not losing the taxes to the war machine. And if I keep my wages low, then I'm paying less taxes to the war machine and this oppressive machine that this money goes to. And I'm able to keep that money in this continuing outgoing outreach to make the world a better place, because my board of directors and we do still control this money, even though none of us own the money in our names. And so you don't have to have the money in your name in order to do this. In fact, I would suggest everybody who's starting these spiritual businesses is start a nonprofit. Use the tools that Rome uses to work from within Rome to change Rome. So I don't know how we got on that. So
Well,
sorry,
I
I'm,
love
I'm going off on
it's
some
okay.
tangent.
I love your heart for, I mean, you get to share a little bit of your heart. You know, you're passionate about that, and I like to see people share what they're passionate about. I know, like,
Yeah, play it like a fox, right? You know, play by the rules that uses to change Rome, to undo Rome from the inside out. Don't tell anybody what you're doing. You're a secret agent, 007 of above.
well, I would love to focus a little bit on people, you know, because there are people who are new to this journey that get to experience this interview and get to learn from us. And for those people, I definitely want to support them because they like we need more people to awaken, to be
Yeah.
conscious, so we can all shift this world to a better space. So I would love for you to share any tips or tools, like some key things for you that have been important for your journey. I know a lot of people, meditation is one. For me, gratitude, forgiveness, and letting go. A few of those things have been really important. So whatever tools come up for you that you could share with people who are new to this journey and, you know, might not understand that, you know, our souls have multiple human lives and stuff because most people don't realize that, especially people in religion.
Mhm.
So whatever you feel called to share.
Well, one tool I'd like to share right away is this snoring breath. I wish that I had learned this. It probably has some yogic name. I forgot what it was, but it's I call it the snoring breath because basically you're simulating the sleep state that your body thinks, okay, this means I'm sleeping if I'm breathing this way. While you're fully awake, and your consciousness can do other things. Then you get into these really profound altered states with just this breathing method alone. I wish that I had discovered this earlier in my life because I'd spend 20 hours sitting in the lotus position to get to this point sometimes, or weeks of meditation just to have one little smidgen of this experience. So this snoring breath, anytime you're going to meditate, start with this and keep doing it until you're in the right state. Within 5 minutes at the most, you can be in an altered state. I can get into an altered state within a minute to 2 minutes of this breathing now, where I'm ready to walk the dimensions and cross the dimensions. And because I do a lot of that, I live one life here and one life in the other dimensions, where I help do a lot of cleanup work with the dark spirits, because it's time for them to go home and stop influencing this world. But I wouldn't have been able to get into the states necessary for that until I had this technique. So it goes like this. Just watch me for a second, and then we'll all try it. It goes like this. You snore ever so lightly into your nose, like the top of your nose, and then it goes up into your forehead, sits there for a moment, and then when you breathe out, the energy goes up over the top of your head and down your spine. And then you hold the breath out for a moment, and then again, in a circular way, the breath comes back in. Kind of breathe into the top of your nose, the top of your nose canal, as if you're breathing into your forehead, and then again, hold the breath for a moment up over the top of the head and down your back. Your peak spiritual experiences are happening when the frontal lobe of your brain is highly active. When you're having those moments like, oh, la, nirvana, this is because your frontal lobe lit up. So this kind of breathing helps light up your frontal lobe, and this can put you in those altered states where you can have these peak spiritual experiences. So it goes like this. And you don't have to saw down a forest. You can snore lightly. Okay, so it goes like this. Hold the breath, and then breathe out, and the energy goes up over the top of your head, down your back. Hold the breath out for a moment, and then again. And as you do this, you're going to get lighter and lighter and lighter, and the breathing's going to get easier and easier and easier. At first, you have to make a little bit of effort to breathe the way that you are when you're sleeping. If you don't know how you breathe when you're sleeping, just imagine that your body's sleeping. And how would your body breathe if you were sound asleep? And so everybody just try it. We'll try 2 breaths.
Okay.
Okay. Just breathe in through the top of your nose. Hold the breath in your forehead, frontal lobe, imagining it lighting up. And then breathe out over the top of the head and down the back. Hold the breath out. And then again. And just with those 2 breaths, doesn't it feel so good? Just with 2. Wait till you do 10, 20, 15.
Actually, I was
30.
connecting with you when you were doing yours, because I can feel, I don't know, people don't get it. I can feel what's going on in your body. Like, so I felt it activate your heart. Definitely felt you more clear. And then as I did it myself too, I felt the same. I can feel, I think a lot of people don't realize that you can direct your breath and energy in certain spaces. So that's
important. And you can direct your consciousness with this breath.
Yeah.
I mean, consciousness follows the breath. For instance, if you're doing the breath of fire, you get a different conscious state. If you do the breath of different breathing, there's the rebirthing breath. There's all these different breathing techniques that you can actually literally choose what consciousness you want to be in that moment.
Yeah.
So I think there's a book called The Art of Breathing. It's an old book that was written in the 70s or 80s, but gem. It's a must-have on everybody's bookshelf.
Yeah.
And I don't get commission for saying that. Just it taught me a lot.
Yeah.
On my path. So I want to share that with people. That's one technique. Another technique that I really want to pass on that made a big difference for me and sped up my spiritual growth a lot when I started doing it is a repeating alarm. You can. Back in the day when I had it, there was no internet. There was no such thing as smartphones, if anybody can actually imagine that. But if you download on your phone a repeating alarm, just look up repeating alarm in the app stores, and you download that and you set it to go off every half an hour. Every 15 minutes is too much. You're gonna stop listening to it. Every hour is a little bit. You're gonna fall asleep for a long time again, go on automatic pilot again for a long time before you hear it again. So every half an hour I found is pretty good. And your phone will just do a little beep beep, and nobody will know what it's about. So to everybody else, it just sounds like a little notice came in or something that you got a message.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you just stop what you're thinking. You stop what you're feeling. You just stop everything and check your consciousness to see if there's a program running that's unconscious, because your unconscious mind is literally running your reality, manifesting your reality. And if there's unconscious programs running, you're going to create from this unconscious place rather than being a conscious creator. And if you are consciously creating, then you can choose what you're going to create more easily. And of course, sure, there's some curveballs from spirit in there, and there's other laws in effect besides the law of attraction, or what I would call the law of vibration. I'd rather change it from the law of attraction to the law of vibration. But there's other laws of going on. There's a law of mass events. There's the law of grace. There's the law of karma. There's the law of soul agenda. There's all these other universal laws that people aren't taking into account. But anyway, if we're going to work with the law of attraction, or shall we say, as I say it, law of vibration, you can change your vibration with this tool of a repeating alarm on your smartphone. And if you have a dumb phone, it won't work, but I don't know if anybody has dumb phones anymore. I just graduated to smartphones only a couple of years ago, because finally I was like, all right, can't beat them. But because smartphones were, I'm not that great at technology, so and most people, like the kids coming out of the womb, know how to check their smartphones now and check
That's true.
But me, I'm still trying to catch up with all that stuff. But anyway, so if you stop what you're thinking, Stop what you're feeling and check your consciousness, be the consciousness police in that moment, and check and see what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Is it connected to a program, or are you truly here in the present moment? That's what this is for. It's to get you back into the here and now, choosing what you want to feel and think at this moment. Are you in the past? Are you in the future? Are you strategizing? Are you playing an old tape of something that depresses you? Are you thinking about somebody who irritates you? Or are you thinking about someone you love? Or what is it that's taking you out of this moment? And because this moment is the point of power, this is where your future is formed from. You have to choose your future right now. This is where you choose your future. And by adjusting the inner landscape and getting the vibration the way you want it, if you want to experience heaven, if you have a heavenly vibration and feel like an angel, think like an angel, act like an angel, have the reality of an angel in this moment, then heaven has to form all around you. It has to. This is the law of the universe. This is a projection machine. It doesn't care what you create. Not at all. It doesn't care at all. You want to create a bad reality? Fine. Here you go. You want to create a good reality? Fine. Here you go. It's up to you what you want to create. And it's a machine. This is a machine. This whole thing is a projection machine. So if you want to change what the mirror reflects, because the mirror never lies, if you want to change what the mirror reflects, you have to change what's on the inner landscapes. So this repeating alarm is the best cheater's yoga path to busting your programs so that your unconscious programs aren't creating your reality anymore. All right, so I wanted to pass those two tools on because those are two really, I think, a necessary set of tools for any spiritual seeker.
Yeah, they've been really helpful for you.
Gets you straight to the altered states, so you don't have to sit in the lotus position for 20 years before you get to that. and the repeating alarm, so you could bust these programs into pieces already and interrupt the program, erase the program, and replace the program. That is the key, really, underneath it all.
Yeah, it is. Like, it's a huge part of this process is rewiring, reprogramming, letting go, and just being able to shift into actually, I mean, most people don't even know that they're creators. So I definitely didn't know. I didn't know the power that I harnessed inside of myself. And that is why I'm like, I'm so passionate. People get to know how powerful that they are. I don't think that it's very fair that people are walking around, living the way that they're living. So,
well, and they're creating whether they know they are or not.
Yeah.
And they're creating from unconscious programs.
Yeah. So I'm just passionate about them knowing that they can create from a powerful space instead of, being the victim or letting the circumstances run their life. But
I agree.
Yeah. So, well, I appreciate all that you have shared, and is there anything else that your heart feels called to share? I appreciate you, and there's so much value that we could just continue to talk and talk and talk. But is there any last things that you might want to share that are on your heart that you haven't had a chance to share yet?
Choose to be happy. It's a choice. You don't have to be depressed. You don't have to be sad. I mean, really, emotions are messengers. And negative emotions are good because I have a video called Negative Emotions Are Good. So, and I explain why. But in a nutshell, if you have a negative emotion, you don't have to dwell in it. If you have depression, you have anger, you have frustration, you have loss of hope, you have despair. What this emotion is there is to awaken you to the point that something has to change or be adjusted. Like, anger means something has to change. Depression means usually something you have to change your perspective about something. Usually, there's grief is about letting go. Loneliness is about courage to be seen and let people know you and be available for the human race to participate with.
Yeah.
And so these emotions, when they come, if you just say, okay, what's your message? What am I not paying attention to? What am I missing? What do I need to do? What do I need to change? What boundary do I have to enforce? What relationship isn't healthy for me, or I need to give them an opportunity to change how they are with me? What is my environment need to change? What's not supporting me in this moment for being happy?
Yeah.
And so choose to get the wisdom from the emotion, take the message, and then once you get the message, so you're like, okay, I get it. This is what I have to change. I have to change my perspective. I have to have more tolerance. I have to enforce this boundary with this person, or I have to take care of myself better in this way, or my environment really needs to change, or something. And then as soon as you get to work on the action that's needed, or the change that's needing to happen, then the emotion says, okay, did our job, we're out of here. It doesn't have to be an indulgence in this negative emotion. Feel it for 10 minutes, however long it takes to get feel it fully. Feel the anger fully. Feel the sadness fully. Say this 10 times really fast. Feel it fully. But really, feel it fully for however long it takes to get the message. Sometimes, if it's a big deal, it could take a week to feel it fully. And just say, all right, this is a temporary experience. This too shall pass. Right now, I am going to sit in this energy fully until I get the message of why it's here, and then I can start taking action on making the growth or the changes that I need to make, and that are the reason that this emotion is here. And so once you do that, you realize you are not a slave to negative emotions. You are not a prisoner of negative emotions. Then they become a spiritual tool. If you feel a negative emotion, it's like, okay, I got to pay attention to something. You sit down and you meditate. You go in or journal or seed your dreams, whatever your method for getting your inner messages are. You get the inner messages because it's a phone call from your soul saying, hey, pay attention over here. There's something you gotta change.
Yeah.
So if you use negative emotions like this, you aren't going to be suicidal anymore. You aren't going to be depressed anymore. You aren't going to be ruled by the demons of anger anymore. And all these emotions are accompanied by demons, the spirit world. And they're not really demons. They're just spirits that don't know how to get the energy they want, or have the resonance with their place in their emotions where they are. They just don't know how to get in any better. And if you encounter those energies around you, they're like little gremlin spirits. Bless them and pray for their healing and send them home and say, look, you can't hang around me anymore. I'll deal with my anger or my sadness or my depression by myself. I'm going to work on what it's showing me I need to change. But I don't need any help here, okay? I don't need this amplified. And hey, you don't have to be a sadness demon anymore. Go home. Come on, choose another life. You belong to the light too. You're God's self too. So anyway, I mean, these are some advanced ways to deal with negative emotions that aren't so difficult. They're actually pretty simple. So that's one thing that I would really like to pass on, because wish I learned that before. I wish I knew that in my 20s.
Yeah. I think awareness is a big thing. Just checking in and seeing where you're at and being able to do that is a huge thing. And just, obviously, like, knowing that, you're capable of shifting out of what you're going through. We have the ability to do that. And we have the ability to look and ask, like, why am I feeling this way? And just know that we don't have to sit with that and let it fester and let it get worse. So thank you for touching on that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and again, I'm so appreciative that you have it in your heart to create something for people who are struggling with depression, because being sensitive, like highly sensitive, being like, I'm here to guide people who are highly sensitive and like put awareness out there for them. And I've encountered a lot of people, that have struggled with suicide and depression. And I'm just so thankful that there's somebody out there like you that is willing to share that, because my heart, knows that each soul out there struggling like that needs the support. And I want, just like you, I want the best for them. I want them to know that they're supposed to be here creating something in this world, supporting people and living a better life than what they are. So thank you for being, a vessel and a vehicle to guide people in this world. I appreciate you, and I've so loved connecting with you. And
thank you for that as well. That means a lot to me. I really appreciate it.
well, I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. And I appreciate you. I love what you're doing, and I'm so happy to help you in your work too in any way that I can. And try to get you some more exposure, because what you're doing is a good thing.
Yeah, well,
Share my
the one
connections
message.
with you.
Oh yeah, sorry. The one thing that has really been huge for me, and I know for a lot of people that struggle with depression, is community and like not isolating. It's so huge, and when we support each other in this world, it just makes the world a better place. We are stronger in connection and being willing to support each other. So thank you for being willing to support others on this journey, support me, support yourself, and yeah, so thank you.
Well, for sure. We're all in this together.
Yes, we are. We really are. We're one. That's one of my messages, is like we are one in this world, and more people get to know how connected we truly are.
Yeah, it's all God dreaming. It's all the same one living all these lives. And when people realize that, it just changes everything. I have a video, God, You Are God Dreaming. And every time people watch that one, they're like, oh my gosh, that kind of changes everything.
Yeah. Well,
if you start seeing it that way, because then you see everybody as your own self.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you're listening and you feel called to go check out her channel and listen to it. And she also has a free gift for everybody, if you would love to share a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, sure. We have 4 courses from University of Metaphysical Sciences and 4 meditations from some of the courses for free. And one person said, "You're giving that much away?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And because there's so many courses, that's only a fraction of them, and everything's really cheap if anybody wants more. But yeah, check out these courses. I think one is divination skills, something about teaching you how to use cards and runes and things like that. Another one is meditation skills. Another one is, I think one of the meditations is from the Chakras and Auras class. I think another one is Awakening to Your True Self. I don't remember what all the courses are, but we have them there on our site that you can download and enjoy to your heart's delight. So.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with everybody, and everybody go get that and use it.
Get it at metaphysicsuniversity.com and just go to curriculum, and it's right there.
We'll also put it on our site so they can grab it off of the summit as well.
Yeah, and if they want to do a free retreat with me, that's freeretreatsforall.com. We try to come to your town. And then that's like a meditation and spirituality retreat. If anybody's interested in shamanic medicine ceremonies, ayahuasca and San Pedro, and eventually we're going to start doing the magic mushroom ones. We're still trying to find ways to do that. I'm working on starting a medicine church in the United States. And so a shamanic medicine church. And they could go to GaiaSagrada.com and find out all about that. I live here in Ecuador most of the time, even though I travel a lot. I live here in Ecuador at Gaia Sagrada Retreat Center. So if anybody wants to meet me, that's a good time. And I always answer comments on YouTube if anybody wants to have a direct conversation with me. I don't answer emails and private messages and all that stuff because there's literally thousands. I can't do them all. And plus the conversation that we have, it's good for everybody else to hear it so that they can be helped by it too. So if anybody wants to have a direct conversation with me, YouTube is the place to do it. Just comment on any video and I'll answer. Yeah. And I'd love to meet you in person. Meet in person pretty soon too. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, yeah, I might attend one of her upcoming retreats. I might go to that. So that one's
the next free retreat is in Tucson, Arizona, February 15th, but we're going to try and do one there every year at the Gem and Mineral Show in Tucson, Arizona. So you have two reasons to go to Tucson, Arizona. One for the retreat with us, and then the other one is to get really well-priced crystals and all that good stuff. So,
Yeah.
because it's the wholesale vendors for all the crystals and stuff that come from all over the world. It's huge. It's massive. It needs to be on every spiritual seeker's bucket list.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing again. I appreciate you taking the time to connect here and to share your heart with everybody. And I want to thank you everybody for tuning in, and we hope that this is supportive of you on your journey and get connected with Christine and her beautiful heart. And thank you again.
Aho.